hear the music, you know what that means. We already know what's up. We back at it to prove them wrong every minute, every day, every hour, however we got to do it. But we got to get it done. So I am excited because it's a different situation about to go down. So let me turn this down for you guys for a second. Hold on one second. Let me turn it down. You already know. I got to turn it down. Mellow this thing out all the way. And so, welcome to the Apex Podcast. You know, it's another episode, another day, another dollar. Time to have some fun. And I am super stoked for this interview today. This guy has become a super friend of mine. And, you know, I've been able to travel around shows and events, not just shows, but events and different places and see him at the shows. And this is how we developed our friendship. And I'm honored, one, and thankful, two, that he agreed to come on and share his story with you guys and kind of talk a little entrepreneur business with everybody listening today, because I think it's very important in our industry and in this climate that we in, that we share business savvy stuff, but also tell our story. So I'm going to give him a clap in. You know how we do. We like to clap him in. So I'm going to clap my dog in. And when I say my dog, I don't mean he got 4 legs. I just mean the heart. He got the heart of any dog in any fight. So give a round of applause to Mr. Matty Conrad.
You're making me feel all warm and tingly inside now. You know, don't go spoiling me.
You feel fuzzy on the inside?
Oh, you are like the world's biggest teddy bear. Like, you're intimidating as fuck. Don't get me wrong. You're a big physical presence, but man, you gotta be one of the nicest guys on the circuit. It was easy to be friends with you, like right from the get-go.
Man, I try to always, because I feel like most people don't know that if you just greet people with a smile, it automatically puts that intimidation factor down. And it's like, yo, this dude might be cool, so let me talk to him. And I know I am a big guy. I'm 6'6", 300 and something pounds. And it's like, I could be scary in all black. I get confused.
Dude, I mean, the first time I met you, I'm a pretty tall guy. Like, I'm reasonably tall. And the first time I met you, I saw you at a distance. I was like, oh, there's John Mosley. I'm going to go up and say hi. And by the time I got up there, it was like looking up at a skyscraper.
It's like from far away, I look like normal height. And then when you get there, you're like, ooh.
The closer I get, I'm like, God damn, he's big.
You're like, that's a tall building. That's what Superman meant, huh? Man, I love it. I love it, bro.
Yeah, I actually really miss the road a lot. Like this week, I've been going in ebbs and flows. You know, like we lost a couple people this week that I think you and I both knew from the road show circuit and stuff, and that's so hard. You know, knowing that you're not going to get to see those people again, but. It's you know, all the news that comes, and it's like it might be a long time or it might come back quick, we don't know, kind of thing. All the uncertainty. There's definitely a thing that I really miss about seeing all you guys. You know what I mean? I miss the group of people that have sort of a similar lifestyle that kind of get each other in a weird way. You know what I mean?
Right. And we I think we all, like that group, we all kind of look at the shows as our opportunity to actually go have dinner with each other. Go talk to each other, bounce ideas off each other, because we always constantly move. But one thing we knew for sure during show season, we were going to see each other.
Yeah, for real. And it's been a long time now, man. It's been a drought. Almost. I mean, for everybody, for everything, too. I mean, it's not just us, for sure. But it's funny, though, that you say that, because I did just get offered a show that was in France. And, nice. I mean, France is cool. I got offered a chance to go do that in December. And my first question wasn't anything other than, who's going to be there?
Yeah, you want to make sure your friends is there.
Let me decide based on who you invited. Like, how badly do I want to see those guys? And
right.
So, yeah. So I'm actually done I'm going to wait until the new year. I don't know about you guys, but up in Canada and stuff, things are on lockdown pretty good. And things are all the everything has been good about the lockdown, but it's they're not really keen on us traveling down south or anything like that. So we're just kind of hanging out probably until the new year.
Yeah, and even for us, we can still travel. But I'm like, yo, let's take this time to pivot. Let's pivot our business. Let's pivot our strategies, and let's grow in this time.
Yeah, and it's tough sometimes, you know, growth can be really painful. Sometimes it can be really tough because sometimes we're growing in situations that are very unfamiliar. You know what I mean? And we get really nervous or frightened, or we get stressed out by things that are unfamiliar or unpredictable. They put us into uncomfortable situations sometimes. And that can be where a lot of growth happens. Growth very rarely happens when things are comfortable or you know, going smoothly.
Yeah, I think any leader will say that when you're uncomfortable, you're in a growth spurt, you know? And think about it, growing up, it's a cycle that is true to life. Like when you're growing, typically your bones hurt, you know, you sleep a lot, like all of those things happen. You eat more. So it's like the same process right now. We're going through those growing spurts and we're going through those pains, and, you know, you just got to be able to fight through that and pivot and grow.
Did you grow up real quick, or did you just shoot up? Like, did you shoot up over a course of a summer, or did you grow like gradually to be giant?
I started out small. I was like, I don't even know honestly how I even got this big. I think it was a lot of McDonald's early on in my life, but I was a little frail thing. Like you could thump me and I was done. And now you're gonna have to get a truck to hit me to get me to move.
Dude, going into grade 12, I was the shortest guy in my class. I was the smallest guy going into grade 12. And over that summer, kind of like the end of grade 11, over that summer, I grew almost a foot.
Wow.
And so all of my back and everything was crazy. I was gangly as anything in grade 12. I was like a giraffe, you know what I mean? Like just like, you know, those like really slim, like stick insect type of thing. That was me in high school. It was like a real quick thing. And yeah, my bones hurt. My back was all screwed up.
Yeah, when I was like 13 years old, I wore a size 13 shoe. When I was 14, I wore a size 14. I stopped at 15, and I'm thankful, you know, because if I was...
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to have to get that shoemaker dude that makes Shaq's shoes, you know, what I mean? Out of two shoes where he just cuts them in half and like kind of glues them together bigger.
And then I would have had to find a cobbler, and the only cobbler I like is peach cobbler, you know, so...
Air Force Ones don't look good over anything past like a 14, 15 anyway. You're not going to pull those out.
It looks like you are standing on a cruise ship at that point.
Yeah. I've often did that. Oh man, too funny. So congratulations on your pivot, by the way. Like it's really exciting to see what you're doing. Like I know we talked a little bit because for those people listening that don't know, I have a podcast, and I was lucky enough to have John on my podcast, and we talked a lot about what things are looking like for him now. And it's exciting to watch you work, man. It's exciting to watch you grow. Man,
thank you. Matter of fact, drop the name of your podcast so people can go get some.
Yeah. My podcast is called Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, or WTF with Matty Conrad. And it really is just a chance for us to talk very much like we're doing here. But the reason I started it is because of friends like John, where we will get together, we'll have dinner at these shows, and the conversation will always become awesome. And it will always be something deep, and it'll be something meaningful and things that I wish other people could hear just to pull pieces of advice from. And so I started making this thing where we could just have these conversations. And this is honestly my favorite part about our industry from this side of things.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of favorite things that happen behind the chair, but as far as all the things that happen outside of my barbershop, this is the stuff I seem to value the most, or the things that I get most excited about. It's just a chance to share with other people.
So I'm pretty sure, because we have a very similar characteristic on how we work, and we don't mind working. And so now we have very similar tastes in content as well, right? Mm-hmm. Looking at social media, we started out this black and white thing and kind of blossomed in doing it. I love how you do the whole old timer feel, like vintage stuff. Like I wish I could do that, but I can't because I just ain't got the swag for it, you know?
Well, I think that's a mutual thing though. Like I think a lot of people ask about how to start doing that, like a brand thing, but like, I don't know if I'm really qualified to speak on that because I just do shit that I like.
Right.
And it's like my own style is just that. I'm not good at doing anything else. You know what I mean? And so I just play to my strength on that one. I like old shit. I buy old things. I have old chairs. I ride an old motorcycle. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, that's my vibe. And I'm not sure I could try and do something that looks slick.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? Because when most people ask me like, how did you build your brand? How are you building your brand? What is it? What is the secret of success to building a brand? My answer is the same all the time. Be you.
Yeah.
Be you. There's no reason to try to sell a fake version of yourself. Just sell you. If you sell you, that word of mouth of you selling yourself is always going to be good. And so I think that's what you have captured. And like you said, you like, oh, I like old stuff or old shit. And it's not old. It's just vintage. And you're just a vintage type of dude.
I keep telling people I'm not old. I'm just vintage.
That's it. And so that's one thing your brand definitely represents. So for everybody listening who don't know, Matty is the owner of Victory Brand. And it has, when you walk into a hair show and you see this old MASH type feel, that's what I got when I seen it. I was like, yo, this looked like the inside of a
great reference for that, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this looked like the MASH bunker where they were like walking and then all of a sudden they're in this dope little army type, fatigue type, old school bunker. And I'm like, yo, but to me, for me as a business owner, I look at things like that because I want to say, is this guy brand speaking to his characteristics, to his personality as a person? And I can honestly say every time I see what you do from social media to at the shows to what you come out with, the video, like everything you do is uniformed and it speaks very loud and clear that this is your dynamic, this is your lane, and you stick there. And I got to salute you to that because most people most people don't stay in that spot long enough to see the success. And I think you've done a great job at that.
Thank you very much, man. That means a lot to me because, the hard thing is that we're all just kind of fumbling around in the dark. You know what I mean? Like we really are. A lot of us, people that have started a brand or people that are doing well with their brand or everyone that's figuring this industry out. I mean, like, look at barbering 10 years ago versus today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so much has changed. So much has evolved. So many people have entered the market. I mean, there's no blueprint for this thing. You know what I mean? I think what you said is so, like, telling, though. It really is just like, if you can go out there and be yourself 100% of the time and let all of the things around you that you've kind of collected or the ways you like to express that be consistent with who you are, then it doesn't matter if you're popular or trendy or whatever the cool thing is right now, and it doesn't matter if you can't keep being that thing forever. Eventually you have to pick one thing to be and be that and attract the people to yourself that appreciate that.
Hell yeah. And
because the thing is funny is like a guy like you and I are so similar, but so different.
Well, I got more melody than you, Matty.
You got way more swagger than I got is what you got. And you got, the funny thing is our styles though, like so different. Like you'll go out, you'll make your popular nobody brand. And even if we were making the same types of things, they would have very different flavor to them. You know what I mean? But I think if you do it well, each person is still going to appreciate that. It might not be the identical version of it. You know what I mean? But the reason why that is because when you and I, as entrepreneurs and people that love branding and people that love design and people that love the culture, and we look at the whole thing and wrap it all together when we realize that our brand isn't like a collection of things, it's a lens.
Yep.
Right? We've created a lens through which we see the world, through which we encourage the people that work for us to see the world. We look through this thing to see what fits into that world, right? We create a way for people to view our products, to view us, to view what we are, and the way we view them back. And when you start to kind of craft a better way to see things or a lens through which your brand is kind of made obvious, you know what I mean? That's really the trick. It's trying to figure out what fits and what doesn't. Because there's lots of things you can do at any given moment when you make products or when you make a company. Like there's just a million products on the world that you could make now. You know what I mean?
Million.
But they don't all fit who you are. They don't fit your brand or they don't have your flavor or they don't make sense. And a lot of people, when they start things out, it just kind of becomes a garage sale of stuff. Right. You know what I mean? Without that continuity, you don't really have a brand. You just have stuff.
Right. And that's what I tell people a lot of. There's a difference between having an Instagram name and having a brand. And there's a difference between being a brand and having to be the CEO of a brand too.
Yes. Okay. That's a huge one. Like having a brand is like the your ability to visually communicate your values.
Right.
You know what I mean? Visually communicate your values and your style and your taste. So much like you were saying earlier, like when somebody sees one of your photos or one of my photos, they almost know who did it before they look at the name. That's having a brand. You know what I mean? When you have a style that is identifiable, that's definitely part of having a brand. Being a CEO of a brand is like so different from that whole thing. There's like, man, like that's been probably the steepest learning curve for me, is being the CEO of a brand and trying to make all of the tiny little decisions beyond just what does this look like and what is, you know, how cool is this? There's a million other things that happen in the back end that's really, really wild. I mean, I think you probably relate to this. Like we both have, you know, we both have brands, but I also have shops. I've got like 4 shops, and we started with just one, and we kept growing and growing. And originally the brand was the shops. You know what I mean? It was like we made these shops that look cool, and they have a certain look to them and a certain vibe, and people that work there had a certain kind of vibe, and it was all this old school vintagey thing. A lot of people loved it. It got like tons and tons of attention. But the problem with that is it's really hard to scale. Like when you get from one shop to 2 shops, that's a massive hurdle, man. Like it looks cool on paper and it looks amazing in press, but in reality, in functional reality, jumping from one shop to two shops is a monster big jump, because you're splitting up and trying to replicate something that you might not fully understand why it's so great, why it's so successful. You might not really understand all of the little details that make it what it is. You might have an idea of what it is, but chances are you're wrong. And then you try and go replicate it again somewhere, and you learn how wrong you were about all the things you thought that made it great, because you put those things in there, but you missed out on something that was like the magic.
Yeah.
Or you spread your team thin, or a million other things. And it takes a big dip, and then it takes a while for both shops to slowly climb back up to the place where that first shop already was.
Definitely.
And as soon as you have those 2 shops and it's reliable, maybe you got a good manager or something like that, you have basically a countdown timer on it, because it's and you don't know how long the timer is. At some point, one of those 2 shops is going to implode again, because the manager is going to leave. People are going to decide to open their own shop. And so it's this constant management of people, management of craft, while allowing the natural ebb and flow of business to be what it is in our industry, where people leave. They start shops. I did. You did. We all did that. You know what I mean? And that's, in fact, how our industry works. So don't take it personal when it happens, but expect that it's going to.
Yeah, and to me, that's kudos to you as a leader, because that's as a business owner, as a shop owner, right? Specifically a shop owner. You want to get your guys up to the point to where they're confident, they got enough money to where they take the culture that you instilled in them, and then they move on to the next level and open up their shop, because they're going to always pay homage to you no matter what, because you're the reason why the guidance, not the work ethic, but the guidance was the reason why they were able to go and open up their entrepreneurship.
And you know, the funny thing about that is some people will go and say, okay, that's good for you. That's really good for you, bud. But my guy left under crappy circumstances, and he did this and he did all these crappy things about it. Here's the funny thing about it. Like I recognize both situations are going to happen. Okay. Correct. If you own a shop, both situations can happen. Somebody's going to leave with a chip on their shoulder. Somebody's going to leave under good circumstances. I've had both. I've also had people phone me up like a year or 2 after leaving and going, hey, I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry for how I left things. I opened my shop, and then a guy did the same thing to me, and like it just crippled my shop, or I can't believe you deal with stuff like this or whatever. So there's growth that happens there on both sides. You know what I mean? And like I say, the hard stuff is kind of how you grow. And so you go through those situations where somebody leaves bad and you're mad and you're upset and there's all this stuff going on. I mean, this is part of our industry. This is going to happen. Yeah. If you do it well, people will honor you. People will be like, I came from this shop. I'm proud to have come from that shop. I will always respect that guy. And yeah, that really matters for how you leave things. We try and do that with everybody as best we can.
That's awesome, because that's a sign of great leaders. I was recently at a training, and they said people don't leave companies, they leave leadership. And they're either going to leave it good or bad. And so it sounds like what you're doing is you're just trying to make sure your people that's going to grow and leave you on good terms.
Yeah, we hope so.
You
We
know,
hope so.
you know what I do recognize about something that you do too is really sweet and unique. You bring your friends on stage and you just let them cut hair with you. At any show, it's like you don't know who's on the Matty Conrad lineup, but it's just his friends. And there's no like, well, we got to stick to this type of flow and we got to do this type and this type. I think that speaks to when you the boss, you could do whatever you want to. You can make it.
I can't get fired for nothing anymore. It's amazing. I swear on stage, I don't get written up. I don't get anybody like giving me eyes from the side of the stage being like, watch what you say. I get none of that. And you know, the thing is though, it's like, I learned this the hard way from being an artist for somebody else and feeling hedged in creatively, feeling like I was being told what to say, told what to do. It wasn't my best work. It wasn't anything I walked away proud of. I was just like a mouthpiece for someone else. And I swore I was never going to be that for somebody else.
Right.
I think the best thing you can do, whether you're in a shop or on a stage, is surround yourself with the best people. You know what I mean? It's not just like surround yourself with the most talented people. It's surround yourself with the best people, period.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I say, Matty, is straight out. I say, I could teach a bum how to cut hair.
Yeah.
But if you're not a good human, I can't work with you.
But I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of friends that are both good people and good barbers. And when I find that combination, I'm like, do you just want to come hang out and cut hair with me on stage in front of thousands of people? Usually the answer is like, yeah, all right. And that's all it is. We literally, like, the first time we ever did that, it was, do you know Mark Bustos? I think
Definitely, I know Mark. Matter of fact, shout out to Mark Bustos. Brother, if you're listening to this at whatever point you're going to listen to it, I'm coming for you. I need you on the podcast. So I got that little begging session out the way. Now we keep going.
No, it's good. He'll for sure do this thing, man. He's very generous with his time, but he's also like the first time we ever hung out, we became like brothers, like real quick. And the funny thing is we went to go do this show together. We did this thing for Behind the Chair that was in Chicago. It was called BTC on Tour. We had never worked together before. They put us on stage together, and right away we just goofed around and acted like ourselves 100%, like goofy, ridiculous, made fun of each other. And we just laughed the whole time, and people just really got a kick out of it. They thought it was fun, and so they invited us for their big show. Now, on tour is like maybe 700, 800 people in a theater, maybe 1,000, I don't remember. But the big show is like huge.
Massive.
It's like, yeah, it's like 6,000, 7,000 people, and so they invited us to come and do this stage show on the big stage at their big show because of that thing. And we were like, okay, yeah, that sounds fun. I love cutting hair with Mark. He's hilarious. But the funny thing is that when we got there, we kind of realized that we were pretty over our heads. Like, I didn't have a brand at that time to sponsor us with. I mean, I did, but it wasn't like scaled the way it is now. Mark didn't have a sponsor or anything like that. It was just Matty and Mark. And all of the other stage segments were these massive companies that had huge tech budgets and videos streaming behind them with like Beyonce and a fucking wind machine going and stuff like that. And we're watching this. We're like, we don't have nothing for that. And Mark Clicks is like, we're going to look like idiots. He'll be like, hey, here's all these celebrities. And it's like, and now two guys you've never heard of. And so we decided the night before to make a video. There was this show called Robin Big. And it was,
yes.
Do you remember Robin Big?
Definitely.
Okay, Rob Dyrdek and his bodyguard. And they used to do just crazy shit. And the intro to that TV show played the song from The Courtship of Eddie's Father, which is, people, let me tell you about my best friend. And then Mark and I had become like pretty tight. And we're like, what if we tried to recreate that video, like using my cell phone, which back then was like, I don't know, iPhone 4. So it was like ultra crappy video.
A little grainy. It was might have been a little grainy.
It was terrible, and especially on a massive screen, but we did it. We just like made us doing stupid shit, doing cannonballs into the pool, and like just basically like we going and getting our teeth whitened and like random stupid shit that you would do together with your best pal. And then we made this clip video and put it together. And right before we were supposed to be on stage, we handed it to the stage crew. We're like, hey, will you guys play this beforehand? And they're like, yeah, okay. And so we go up on the stage. And we're all like laughing to ourselves. And then Mark just turns white. I'm like, what? He's like, what happens if this is the stupidest idea we've ever had in our lives? Like,
Too late.
Too late now. So they start playing it, and there's not like crickets. There's not a sound in the room, and we're like, they don't get it, man. They like, oh, they're gonna think we're so weird. And then slowly, as the thing went on, people kind of started to giggle, and then by the end of it, people were kind of like the laughter was kind of rolling. Yeah. And when they invited us out on stage, you hear this voice of God be like, "Yeah, welcome Matty Conrad and Mark Bustos," which for us was so weird because we had never heard ourselves announced like that before. You know what I mean? And we walked out onto this stage, and there was this massive sea of people, and they were all screaming. It was like being a Backstreet Boy or something. It was.
You felt that moment, huh?
It was so weird, man. And it just, everything just kind of took off from that moment. And I mean, there was a lot of moments preceding that kind of got us there, but everything just went bananas after that. And we've always stuck to that formula of just, I want to hang out with my friends. I want to laugh a lot. I want to make a funny video that makes people not think about hair for a couple of minutes and just like takes away some of the seriousness that we put on this, because it is just hair.
Right.
It is meant to be fun. And a barbershop to me is about community and camaraderie, and it's about that fun. It's about that. And I want to try and transport people into that scenario, you know, like what a barbershop feels like to me, what I want my barbershop to be like. And 5 friends side by side cutting hair, doing totally different things without script, without too much like pressure to perform or whatever, literally just to go out and be themselves 100%. And something about it works. You know what I mean?
It goes back to what we said in the beginning of this. It's you. It's your brand. It's being raw. It's being uncut. And like you said, it's the barbershop element. When I go to shows and they're like, what kind of model do you want? I'm like, yo, I'm a barber. If that person comes in the shop, I don't get to pick. I don't get to say like, no, I don't want you. I'm like, yo, I will cut a pig with a wig on. If it's just still, I'm cutting it. Like, I don't care what it is, what it looked like. I'm with whatever, because at the end of the day, I never grew up being able to pick my clients. Yeah. I went after anything and anybody because at the end of the day, the money was green.
Yeah.
So that's at the end, that's what we got to focus on. Like, and that's to me, what you do is so unique, because all these other people are just your friends, and it's the barbershop vibe. Like, you could really, I got an idea for you.
Yeah.
The next show, when it happens, the backdrop just be a picture of your barbershop.
That was actually what we did the first year.
There's
a picture of my barbershop, and I was like, there it is. That's just happening.
There it is.
And then last year we just put up the logo, but I kind of liked it better with the barbershop. I think I'd like to go back to that. I'm with you. When we do our backdrops for our small booths, it's always just a picture of my barbershop with us cutting hair in front of it.
Yeah, I think that takes people there. It put people in that place.
So much, like, you don't get to pick the people walking in your chair. I intentionally try and pick normal, like, everyday stuff. I'm not like your guy that's going to go up and do carvings and a lot of crazy artistic stuff. I'm also not your guy that's going to go up and do a 2.5-hour haircut that looks really good for Instagram. You know, I really try and keep things real when it comes to like, what are you going to see in your shop? Probably one of the best moments that I had on stage, in my top 5 anyway, was really funny. It was for another show. It was a big one. I think it was like 4,000 people at this show. I was on the main stage, and this guy who had been following me on Instagram was like messaging me. He's like, hey, I'm at the show. And like, sometimes that can get weird, and you're like, okay. But he's like, hey, I'm at the show, and I had a model call going, and I couldn't find a model. I posted it, and he's like, dude, I'll do it. And then right away, I was like, fuck, okay, sure. So he comes up, and I'm like, come to the model call, and I'll have a look. And he was like, he came to the model call, and he was a really nice guy. He wasn't like a weirdo. He was a really nice guy, and he was actually a pretty handsome dude, you know. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make this guy's day. I'm like, tell you what, dude. Come up, you're gonna be my main stage guy, okay? And he's like, I'm so excited. I've always wanted to get my haircut from you. And I'm like, why do people get so bent at, like, it's a haircut? But he was really excited, and then he turned around to walk away. And as he turned around to walk away, my jaw, like my eyes popped out, and my jaw just like, because you know how some dudes like have like a stack of sausages right back here?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
They'll take me out to the ball game.
very light colored hair, right? Which means that you can see kind of through it. And it was fairly short. And he didn't have like a stack of sausages. He had like a burrito, like one burrito, like around the back of his head. And it had a dent up top and a really big dent down low. And all I thought to myself was, what have I done? Like, what the fuck have I done? Like, I can't cut that in front of 4,000 people are going to see
a burrito.
Like, I can't hide anything there. I can't do anything. And the thing is that I've been realizing that a lot of the stuff that I teach isn't about how do you hide things or how do you make people feel like they need to hide something. Like, I really believe that every man at some level is handsome in a way. You know what I mean? It's either through his confidence in how he looks or just through the way he looks objectively. You know what I mean? And I really believe that our goal is to make people feel okay about all those things. You know what I mean? Is to strip away the feeling that that is wrong or unnatural or weird and just simply remove it as an issue and let him be confident without having to think about that. You know what I mean? As soon as we start trying to cover stuff up or whatever, hide things. And so I was just like, I just talked about that on stage. I'm like, there's nothing unnatural about this. A lot of people have it. He shouldn't feel embarrassed. Don't even address it. Just look at it and go like, this is the best haircut I could do for this. And I took it up nice and high. I blended it out. I taught people how to do a high fade. I gave people some pointers on texture. But most importantly, the whole time I talked about what are we doing during this entire experience to make him feel something about the way that he looks, to make him feel confident. Because people are more attracted to confidence than anything.
Right.
Like any aesthetic level you can achieve will still pale in comparison to a person who's just confident and attractive because they're confident. So what are we doing to feed this man's confidence? We talked about that. There's other people on stage. And for those of you that haven't been to a hair show, here's basically what happens. There's 5 people cutting on a stage, and the first person done, their model will stand up. Okay. And inevitably it's some girl with long layers because that takes like no time. All right. And she's sitting there posing and kind of making duck lips the whole time. You know what I mean?
Definitely duck lips.
And she's starting to do that weird thing that they all do with their legs, that horse thing where they're like up on one leg, kind of with a pointy toe. And like horse body duck lips is essentially what most models are going for now. So what ends up happening is
there's a lot of that on Instagram, by the way.
That's right. She gets up, then another one gets up, and another one gets up, and I'm kind of starting to sweat because I'm like really trying to polish out this fade kind of thing, and you know, bridges and all this. Everyone gets up, okay? So all the girls, they're all standing up. My guy's standing up. The girls take a turn walking to the front of the stage, duck lips out, you know, horse leg up, kind of thing. They're doing their thing, and my guy, he doesn't walk out and do his turn at the stage. He just turns around and gives me a hug, and every person in the room is just like, oh.
You won.
But it was like he hadn't seen his hair. There's no mirror. He had no idea what he looked like. He felt amazing.
Yeah.
Because we had addressed the real issue, which is just his confidence. It's just a matter of like, he looks objectively handsome. This stuff doesn't matter. You should never feel weird about those things. You should never make your client feel weird. You should only focus on what do we do to make this person feel confident. And he did. And that to me taught me everything about how I operate behind a chair in a shop.
You know, that's one thing that I always speak to is that I don't sell haircuts. I sell emotion. I don't sell a service. I sell emotion. If I can make this person feel the best they ever felt or even the best they felt in a long time, I did my job. So it's like, oh, well, did he love his haircut? No, he loved himself. He felt great about himself. It's kind of like how you said we sell confidence. So it's like we all done seen this before. This not so attractive man walks out of somewhere with this super hot chick, and you like, how the hell did he get her? But it's because his confidence is skyscraper. Why everybody?
No, totally no. But it's true. It's 100% true. The way that I like to frame it for people is that most people aren't really paying you for the haircut. They're paying you for the way they feel when they walk out the door.
Right.
Right. A lot of barbers, when it comes to 2 different elements of things like haircut and retail, are pretty much the 2 pillars of like what we do in the barbershop. You know what I mean? We provide products to recreate looks. We create looks. Right. Here's the funny thing that happens though. Barbers are notoriously good at doing their clients' banking for them. Right? Like I don't want to charge this guy full price because he probably can't afford it. I don't want to sell this guy product. He probably can't afford it. Here's the funny thing about that. I love to buy shit. I do. Like, I don't like to be sold things, but I love to buy shit. And you know what's really funny? The only time I feel that pinch of like, oh, maybe I can't afford this is when I'm handing over my fucking wallet or my credit card to pay for that shit. At the minute I step outside the door and I've got a bag with something in it that is for me to make me feel better about whatever it is that I needed to do during that day to feel better, I am amped. When I bought myself something expensive and nice, I am stoked because I feel like it's a form of personal care in some ways.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I've never walked down a thing going, oh, I shouldn't have bought that. I was always like, yeah, motherfucker, I bought that.
And you ready to talk about it. You ready to tell people about what you bought. And like you said, it's a confidence thing, man. And so, you know, we talked about the hair shows and kind of like what both our processes might be about how we do certain things and inside of a show, model prep, our picking and models and how we perform on stage. But one thing I want you to share is, how did you come up with the brand Victory as far as the product, and like what was that concept behind that?
So are we talking the products or are we talking the shop itself?
Let's go both. Let's go product first, because I think more people recognize you as the product brand. Yes, not necessarily the shop.
That's the thing, to kind of come full circle on that conversation. Like, originally the brand was the shops.
Right.
But I had always called it Victory Barber and Brand. It wasn't just Victory Barber. Like from very day one, like there was no other brand aside from the barbershop at that point. But I always kind of knew that it was going to be that. You know what I mean? Like I had aimed at that from day one. The problem with it is that there's a lot of different routes you can take to get that, but not very many of them end well. You know what I mean? So here's the thing that I've seen happen a lot, and let me be the cautionary tale for some people, or maybe the thing that that people need to hear when it comes to starting a brand. Understand that when you become your own brand, support from every other aspect of the industry that you might potentially get for working with other brands or for being accessible to other brands will vanish. If you don't have a very, very rock solid plan for how you're going to build your own support network, or for how you are going to become a support network for other barbers, you want to rely on anybody else to help you out in this industry, you are not built for having a brand. You want to stand on your own 2 feet and do literally everything yourself, brand might be for you, but timing is everything. So I see a lot of people that are like, I just started a barbershop. I've got 2,000 followers on Instagram. It's time for me to launch my product line. I'm going to buy some white jars. I'm going to design a sticker to put on them. Boom, I'm a brand. You're not a brand at that point. You have stickers on a product line that you didn't design, that anyone else could get, that cost you more money to purchase than it would to actually manufacture if you had the money to invest in manufacturing enough units.
Did they get them from Sticker Mule?
What most people have become is essentially their own brand, that they're paying too much money for the actual products that they're using, so that not only they're losing out on the potential to make revenue from it, but they don't have the ability to sell it to anybody else. They also don't have the ability to actually make an income from it, and they don't have support from another brand. Hi, baby. This is, of course, yeah, this is Pipes. I know, I'm talking all.
That is a humongous dog.
Yeah, she's the U of dogs, essentially.
By the way, since you guys can't see, this dog is humongous.
A big dog.
Yeah, so I might walk on the opposite side of the street seeing that one.
No, you'd love her, man. She's a pussycat. But as long as you aren't an actual pussycat, she don't like cats. But it's one of those things where having a brand is really interesting. Before I ever thought about starting a legitimate product line, I started a very small line of products in my own shop for beards. And the reason is because I had one. And I realized that so many people were growing them. And I was getting into all this old vintage history stuff, you know what I mean? And at that point, I mean, I had quite a cool collection of things. And somebody gave me this interesting book about like beauty care tinctures and things like that. And inside of it, there was actually a formula for like a balm for your beard. You know what I mean? It was like shea butter and this kind of stuff that you would mix together. I'm not going to tell you what's in it because I still make it, but it's one of those things where I just started screwing around with my stove, and I could order some packaging and some stickers and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that was it at first. It was a brush that was in my grandpa's dop kit that I had never seen, which is actually just like a wave brush. Right. But at that point, like growing up, you know, white kids in the suburbs, I've never seen a wave brush before in my life. You know what I mean? But his was amazing. And I was like, well, this is cool. I want one of these. So we made them and we got these brushes and then we got beard oil, and it happened so organically. But for the first little while, it was literally me making it in like, first it started in my kitchen and then it started to grow from there. When it came time to really launch a product line, I had been working internationally for some of the biggest product lines on the planet. I learned what it takes to create products. I learned what it takes to market and promote and support, create a network. You know, like I really spent a lot of time studying, working for other people and contributing something to their brand. Like I was never the person to sit working for someone else and just take as much as I could away from them. Like anytime you want to stick around a brand a long time, you need to be pulling your weight and you need to be actually contributing something to their culture as well. You can't just come to take from it.
Right.
So when I did that, and I know you know that because you and I have like crossed over in a lot of brands, and I mean, what you are doing now, you know, with Paul Mitchell and everything else too. I mean, you lend so much to their culture there. You know what I mean? But you and I have also talked about this. It's a big learning curve when we're in those roles.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Because especially on my side, like I've learned how to play inside that role, you know, and I, like you said, I bring things to the table where I'm open and very honest with what I feel about products and how they move. And, you know, and one thing that I can say is shout out to Paul Mitchell for giving me the voice inside of the company to actually say that, because some artists don't have those opportunities. They just get a label stuck on them and then they're stuck with that label, but they're there for the check and they're not there because they're happy. They're just there because of the check. And I can honestly say I'm genuinely happy with my role and my position at what I do, because I do have a voice inside of that. And I think that's where most young artists don't get that, where they just see like, oh, you work for one of the biggest companies in the industry, like that's cool. How did you do it? I'm like, work hard. You know what I mean? And like you had your own brand, but what did you do? You worked hard. It was just different.
I still work hard. Like I was saying the other day, like I feel like I'm working way too hard to be this broke. Because here's the thing about a brand too, is that unless you take on massive investors and debt and all these other things, it grows gradually. Right. You know what I mean? Like we're one of the smallest companies in the industry right now. I mean, it really is me and like two other people. And then we have relationships that we've been trading on for a while. But the thing is, like, I knew that if I was going to create a brand to get products in, to become a support network for other artists, to be able to create a community, I needed to be able to bring so much more than just a couple of good product ideas and some neat looking packaging. Because truth be told, like that stuff doesn't get you very far. I've realized in this industry, like the best quality products out there, the ones that are the best quality, best ingredients, best everything, really amazing, you've never heard of them. Straight up, you've never heard of them because they don't win. The ones that win are the ones that have the best story and the best everything else to accompany the products that are okay. They crush everything. The ones that make really good products and have a pretty good story, you probably heard of them a little bit, or they're a little expensive, or you've heard those things. But the ones that are like just straight up amazing, best focused entirely on the product, you've never heard of them.
Never.
And that's the thing that happens is I knew I needed to bring more. Having an education background, having a background working at the top level for other brands where I was traveling the globe already, gave me experience. It gave me an opportunity to have a different skill set to bring to the table of trying to create my own, rather than just some good looking or some good product ideas. Having a network of people and friends to be able to rely on to get the word out, having, really like always being the guy to show up for everybody is the best way to get people to show up for you.
Right.
My friends know I would drop anything for them anytime, whenever. You know what I mean? Like, no question, because that's what friendship is. That's what community is. And you go and you do that. You invest in your community. You do right by your friends. You do right by your customers as much as possible. You do everything that you have to do. And I got to tell you, for the first couple of years, it is an absolute pride swallowing siege. It is a very expensive endeavor. All of the money that you think I've made from this thing, because everybody sees my aprons everywhere and they see my products all over the place. I've never been paid a dime from this company in 4 years. Every single dime goes back into growing that company, making it bigger. And it's the funny thing about it is that now we have more products, we have more artists, we have bigger reach. We're doing these things. It grows very, very slowly. I designed every single thing, every single part. I don't have an external designer. I designed all this stuff myself, built it all myself. And because I'm only one man, that can only go so slow, but it means I also don't owe a lot of money. I don't have a ton of debt, but it means my company exists perpetually in risk phase.
Man.
Risk phase is a big one. And let me explain to those of you who are in the business world or not entrepreneurs yet, but are aspiring entrepreneurs. You need to understand that every entrepreneurial experience, every business that you get into has two phases. It has the risk phase and the reward phase. The risk phase is the length of that is directly proportionate to how much money it costs you to start and how long it takes you to get free and clear or to not owe money on it, okay, or to be paid back. Right. The reward phase comes after that. Owning a business during something like COVID or anything else, owning a business doesn't insulate you from anything. A lot of barbers were angry. A lot of people are like, where are these people showing up and giving us money or giving us help? A lot of businesses are in risk phase right now and simply don't have the resources to do as much as people want them to do. And a lot of businesses, whether it's a barbershop or a brand or anything else, if you're in risk phase, your liability is just massive at this point. Barbers are at risk of losing jobs. I know people that have lost their life's work, and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of revenue or value have just kind of disappeared out of their companies. And these are people that have worked really hard for things. And so it's a tough time for everybody, but I think people need to realize getting into those things that if you want to be an entrepreneur by starting a shop, don't celebrate like you've made it, like you're a baller until you've paid the shop off. You know what I mean? Like, because the revenue will start coming in and it's going to be like, yeah, but the shop is not paid for. I got 4 of them. They're not like, I still owe money on a couple, you know what I mean? And the brand is, growing and growing and stuff like that. But it's an interesting thing. The reason I built a brand in the first place, though, was even though like I sound like I'm being really negative against the idea of starting it because it's hard. It really is.
No, you know what, Matt? It's not that you're being negative. You're being truthful.
Hopefully.
Because everybody looks at it and think like you said, oh, I got a shop. Hooray. Like, do you want to celebrate a championship or do you want to get to the Hall of Fame, buddy? You know what I mean? Like that doesn't really mean anything. Anybody could go lease a building and build one out and say, I got a shop, but you don't own it. You lease it.
Even your shop, okay? Let's start with the brand of your shop. You make a shop. You came up with some cool ideas. It's very you. It's very unique. You get to call that for, in my experience, about 5 months before at least half a dozen people have replicated what you've done.
Yep.
And that's the truth. You own a brand, cool. Your good ideas, they get about 6 months at best before half the other brands out there have come along and replicated what you've done. If you have a good idea, like, I mean, I'm knee deep in it. I can probably name about 20 different incidents of people that have just straight up ripped off ideas that I had. But the thing about it is that that's just the ideas. That's if you're focusing on the product, then that's going to be a real problem. If you're focusing on the running of your shop, if you're focusing on the culture of your shop, like people can copy the recipe, but the sauce doesn't taste the same.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's the truth. It's if you're focused on the aesthetic, like here's what my shop looks like. I came up with all these cool ideas. You're going to get so bent out of shape when people start copying those ideas if they're good enough. Trust me. This is something that Rob and I have had a lot of conversation on. Rob, who's of course from Scorum. Those guys and I are great friends. We've known each other since the very start of this thing. And we've had these conversations where it's just you can either bang your head against a wall and feel really upset that people have copied you, or you can just appreciate that you've lent something to the industry and realize that what you're trying to sell isn't the look of your shop, right? It's not the look of your product. It's not the exact products you make. It's the culture that you're creating that comes along with those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's so important. The reason I started our shop in the first place was because it was a love letter to my grandpa who had passed away, who was every bit the perfect gentleman. He was every perfect thing I can think about what a healthy masculinity should be. You know what I mean? He was kind and gentle and strong and committed and diligent. He was really, really good man. He had a ton of integrity. He gave to his community, cared about the people around him. He was a remarkable guy. And I decided that barbershop was kind of like a bit of a love letter to him, or at least a way of honoring him.
And that's your brand.
Never came to my hair salon when I owned it, because I owned hair salons before barbershops. Like I wasn't just born a barber, come out looking like a lumberjack and shit. You know, like when I started, I was a hairdresser, and 5 years ago that used to be a really embarrassing thing that people would shame you about. You know what I mean? But right now, things have shifted around so much that barbers are like, yo, can you show me some of that blow drying shit that you do? You know what I mean? So it's like things shift, trends change. It might seem really shameful right now, or you might be embarrassed of where you started. But the thing is, I started as a hairdresser. I got a ton of technical haircutting skills from being a hairdresser. And then I learned barbering, and I got a ton of great technical skills from being a barber as well. When I started that shop, he had never come to my hair salon, and it had nothing to do with how I cut hair. It had nothing to do with what I did. It had everything to do with just the culture and the feel and where he felt he fit. And I realized at that point, barbershops in my region, you had one option, or two options. You could either go to like an urban shop, right? And you get lined up and faded. And at the time, you know, like that's just not going to suit some of the clients that I was serving. Or you could go to like Magic Cuts or like a cheap barbershop and feel like, yeah, I just go to a barbershop. Guys were like, it was like they were apologizing for going to a barbershop. They didn't want to feel like they're being cheap. All and right. So we wanted to create this thing that felt proud and felt dignity and felt like people were invested in the way they looked, not in a way that made them high maintenance, but in a way that just made them feel confident. Yeah. Right. And that was it. It was that thing. And so when it came time to making the products, building the product company and building the products was a lot about how would my grandpa do business, and how do we model that kind of integrity as with everything that we're doing, you know what I mean? And I've done the very best I can with that. There's a lot of instances where we could have been a bigger company. We could have sold to a bigger company. We could have done other things. And it's like, it just didn't feel like that was the right thing to do. You know what I mean? It felt like the right thing to do is take care of the people that are part of our community, to do our best to show up, to teach real shit, not to intimidate, but to help, to inspire, and to encourage.
It's two things that you said. Well, actually three. That okay. I'm gonna bring it back a little bit and touch bases on, because I think people need to understand this. One, you said you have got your brand to where it is off of relationship barter. Mm-hmm. Basically, I will do this, but I need you to do this. Yeah. And most people don't build off of relationships. They build here. To bring me to the second point, and for you guys that can't see this video, by the way, it will go up on YouTube, Popular Nobody channel, so subscribe there. And subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, whatever you need to do. But people build, they think, oh, well, I got a lot of money, so I could build this brand. Or I got investors. I love when people are like, yo, who's your investor? I said, John Mosley and my wife. You know what I mean? My wife, Jessica, that's my investor. We work together. We take our money and invest back into who we are, right? Mm-hmm. And I think people don't understand that. Investor's job is to lend you money with the knowing that you're gonna have to come back and get more money. So that means every time you go back to that pocket, they're going to give more and more of your company. And I loved when you said that you do it on your own, because to me, if you really want to take your business to the maximum potential, as long as you could stay in your own pocket, you get the opportunity to stay in your own lane.
Hi, I love you. I'm sorry. So,
But you know what?
I got attacked by.
Yeah, you just got attacked by your dog.
A grizzly bear. Yeah.
So for everybody that don't know, it looks like the dog from The Sandlot. So just imagine that's the dog that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, Turner and Hooch.
Yeah. So
yeah, Piper, she's a good one.
You know, so to me that's like you kept it organic by taking your grandpa and putting it in there, but you described your grandpa as a man, which then turned around and described your brand. And that's what you stay true to. You stay true to building it on your own and not worry about how fast you can scale it, but how consistent can you scale it.
Yeah. And that's hard sometimes, man, because like when you're in a trend-driven business and you see people building different ways than you, and they might seemingly be blowing past you or just have more resources to work with than you got, or like a million things that you start to second guess on your own. You know what I mean? Like when you start to feel insecure about stuff. We all do. And like, I have never been a person that has the capacity or ability to look back on my history of achievement. I'm only looking at today, only ever. Like, I wish I could sit and be like, well, look at that mountain that I've just climbed, or that empire I've built. I don't even recognize it. I don't even see it. All I see, I know you want some attention. All I see is that next mountain to climb. And it's just one of those things that you need to have a second to like just breathe it out and believe in yourself when you're going through those tough ones, when you're building slowly, when you're building consistently, and understand that like you need to kind of figure out for yourself before you get into those things what success is going to look like for you. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't look the same for every person. Like, and I think we can get into this trap of trying to like actually beat or become what something else appears to be. Yep. Right? But isn't. Like, so when we're trying to, I'm sorry, this is so distracting, isn't it?
No, you're good. I love the fact that your dog loves you that much.
Oh yeah, she's the best. She's my pal. So the funny thing about it is that like we start looking at what everyone else is doing. We start getting comparisons. We start looking at that kind of stuff. If we play that game, we're never going to feel successful. We're never going to feel like we're even doing anything worthwhile, because everyone else's shit will always look cooler to us. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so there comes that point where you just have to be like, okay, I'm building slowly. I'm sticking to my guns. I'm building community. I'm focusing on the small things and not just trying to conquer all the big things all at once. Just, a lot of brand building has a ton to do with tiny details and the small things. You know what I mean? One of the things I've been doing through the quarantine is going through the people that have been making orders and stuff like that, and just looking back through some of our sales logs, and just randomly calling people that I've never talked to before or never met. You know what I mean? And just randomly calling them to have a conversation.
There's your grandpa again.
Totally, because he would do that. He would pick that phone up and be like, hey, I just want to say thank you, and I really appreciate your support. And I got to tell you, man, some of those connections have been amazing. And the little things that might seem little can be huge, and I've managed to really connect some people with the community and help get them involved in some of the other things we're doing. A lot of the stuff that I've been trying to do with it this year is not about growing the brand and not about adding more products. This year, my focus is adding more value. And so that's the thing that I think is really important when you're starting a brand or a barbershop or anything, is what value are you bringing? Like, if you want to go work for a company and get all that education, like we were talking about that you and I did working for other people, what's the value that you're bringing there, right? You have to have some sort of value, because if you want to have a brand then that you trade on relationships, The brand has no value when it starts. You have value, and you have to lend it your value. You also have to trade your own value away to help build value for the brand. I can't tell you how many times I've been on stage for free or been at shows for free in exchange for marketing or
and everybody think Matty's making all this money. He's on these big stages, and guys, this is what we're talking about. This is true entrepreneurial shit. If you're an entrepreneur and you're listening to this, you're gonna understand what I'm about to say. Your life looks like an EKG machine, and it's just constant up and down, up and down, up and down. Sometimes you might level out and it's a consistent pace, and then sometimes it goes up and then it goes all the way back down. But long as it doesn't go flat, you're still alive. And I'm sure y'all done heard me say this before. Long as it doesn't go flat, you still got hope.
Yeah, I love that. Shit, I'm gonna steal that from you. You know that, right?
You can have that, man. Go ahead.
It's good though, but it's true. Like, there's always ups and downs. There's always high points, low points. What it appears to be is not what it is. And when people are like, "Oh, well, it looks like you're doing so well," of course it looks that way. I'm everywhere, but I've never had to work so hard in my life. And the funny thing is, though, is I'm not scared of working hard. I'm not scared of that. And I didn't start this with the intention of it replacing work.
Right.
That's a big thing. A lot of people with their intention of like, I'm going to build products so I don't have to work no more. Whew, okay, I've never seen anybody build a brand without working. I've never seen anybody build a brand that didn't do the work. And so that part didn't scare me, and it doesn't scare me. And I didn't do it so that I could stop working. I did it so that I could find more fulfillment in the work that I was doing.
Ooh.
Because now this has allowed me to reach out and help other people through this vehicle. Like, education for me was valuable. And the reason why you and I love to teach is because we love to teach what we teach.
Yep.
Like, we find purpose in what we share with people, not in spouting somebody else's lines of text that they want us to read out on a stage because we have an Instagram following and they just want to put us up there to look pretty. We love to teach from our heart the things that deeply affect us, the things that we believe in, the things that we think makes a difference behind a chair in real life. And I couldn't find anybody willing to let me teach all that. And so I decided this was kind of a vehicle for me to be able to teach on my own, for me to create products that I believe were essential for what I wanted to create going forward, for what I saw other people looking for. And it was just a platform for me to be able to do different work. It wasn't erasing work. And the funny thing is that the brand as it exists now will always be this thing that I have to, at any given moment, do a ton of work in one area, and then I'll have to switch areas and go do something else. And it's like, it's wearing a lot of different hats.
Yeah.
And then COVID comes along, shuts the shops down. Half my staff decide that they don't want to do hair anymore. Some of them move back home because they're broke, whatever. And next thing you know, I'm back full time behind a chair again. You know what I mean? And like, any given point, you are going to have to pick up the football and fucking run for your life.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy?
What's that?
If you pick up the football and you run for your life,
yeah.
No matter how many times you pick it up, at some point you will get tackled because you're the leader and the spotlight's on you. And you're always going to be judged. You're always going to be spotlighted. You're always going to be looked at and say, well, look at what he's doing. And then people are always going to say, well, why isn't it me? Why don't I get this opportunity? And it's like you said, you built your brand off of a vision, off of value, integrity. You molded it after someone that was close to you that made that personal connection to continue to make the brand grow and succeed. And you did it your way, and you did it with your money, and you're going to continue to do it that way, because at the end of the day, if you don't want the handcuffs, don't ask for them.
Yeah, it's true. And then that's the thing. It's like, if I ever expect to get that money back, Well, you know, but here's the thing too. It's funny because like, a lot of it comes down to like how you lead, you know what I mean? And everybody leads a little different. You were just taking some conferences. I can't wait to have that conversation with you about some of that stuff when we get a chance to sit down.
Yes.
But one of the things I've always believed about leadership is if you aren't willing to have the dirtiest hands out of everybody there, then I don't know if you're doing the job. Because for me, when I'm at the show, I build the booth, I set the shit up, I carry it, I pack it up, I go out, I find the models, I do the hair. And by the end of it, I'm just exhausted. Like my girlfriend, it was really funny. I tried to get my girlfriend to come to shows with me. And she came to like one show because before I would go to shows, we were still kind of newly dating. I remember she used to get like a little upset because it'd be like, she'd text me and I wouldn't text her back for like a long time. And then like she'd get kind of impatient. She'd be like, you know, it only takes like 2 seconds to text me. And I'd feel bad and I'd be like, I'm sorry. Like it's been crazy like this whole time kind of thing. She's like, yeah, whatever. She came to one show with me. I don't know. Were you at the Vegas show? I think maybe we were both at that show.
No, I haven't done Vegas in a long time.
Okay. Because it was for like one of Jay Major's shows. He did like
the team was there, but I wasn't.
Damn it. Okay, but we were there. That was the only one she came to, and that's not even a crazy show. Like the ones that you and I go to, the big ones are like we're just mobbed the whole time. But when we're like a slightly smaller barber show, and I always say, but I don't know why I separate out barber versus what kind of barber I am. I don't know what the fuck that means, but I keep saying it.
Barber.
When I go to like a barber show. And it was hilarious because by the end of it, she just looked at me. She's like, yeah, guess what? We're good. You don't ever need to like, explain yourself again. I get it.
It's different. It's beauty and a beast.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Dealing with that kind of notoriety in our industry, which popped up fast. Don't you feel like that just came out of nowhere?
Yeah, definitely.
I really believe that the work that we do with those things, beyond just the idea of like, okay, here's the selling the stuff, and here's the setting up the booth, and here's the show and the stage and stuff like that. For me, the real job is making every person that comes up to you feel appreciated, feel respected and special for a moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everyone comes up and they want to connect with you for a second. They want to talk to you. You want to try and give them your undivided attention. You want to appreciate them. You want to show people that you appreciate their support. You want to show people that you're there for them, that you don't think you're cool or whatever. Because I feel like artists from a long time ago used to like go and hide backstage and only hang out with each other, and you would never see them walking around the pit, so to speak. You know what I mean? I live in the pit, homie, at the shows. I live in the pit. I never leave the floor. I'm there the whole time. I will hug every person in that. I am probably a COVID super spreader. Like, I will hug every goddamn person in that place if I have to, and I will make time for every person that comes to talk to me, and that's very important to me.
And that's what's funny, because we see each other in the pit more than we have ever seen each other on stage. Because I'm just like you. Once I'm off stage, I'm out. I'm talking. This is an opportunity to see friends, but also to connect business wise. And so if you're just behind the booth or you're just on the stage and you just hide afterwards because you don't want to be bothered, then that ain't the place for you. Like if you want to be on stage, it's called kissing the baby. You got to do everything.
But people think it's all about just like going up, being cool, having people like, be all excited about you and shit, and then just always looking at you with adoring eyes or shit. But it's like, it's not that, man. It is building relationships. It is genuinely caring for the people. Like to be a great educator, you have to kill your own ego time and time again. You have to love the people in the audience more than you love your own self. Because if you aren't willing to give those people everything you know and strip down like everything that you've puffed yourself up to be, or everything that people have heaped on you that they've said about you, if you're not willing to get rid of all of that, sacrifice it on stage, and then give those people everything that you know how to do with abject humility, you are really not doing the job. If you're just up there to show off, you're really not making the connection. You're really not inspiring people. You're really not making a connection like in the heart from people, which is badly what's needed to motivate people these days. They need to feel something about the way they work. They need to feel something about their own work, about their own abilities. They don't need to be intimidated by yours. They need to simply feel inspired to up their own game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things I say. An ego's job is to kill everything but itself.
Oh.
So if you have an ego, just know it's going to take you down. Like it at some point, it's gonna get you, and you can't run from it. because all it takes is somebody. Remember, word of mouth is the number one business booster, and it will put your business in the ground too. So if you got bad ego, it's gonna happen where somebody starts spreading it, and all it takes is you say something to the wrong person, or you don't give that one person the time that they thought they deserved, or just imagine that one guy that you talked about earlier in the podcast that you cut his hair because he DM'd you, even though your feelings building up to that moment was like, man, this guy is blowing me up, and man, all right, come to model call, not expecting to really pick him, but then you picked him, and then you seen an opportunity to actually make this guy feel amazing. And those are the things that spread fast, too. But that horrible ego, that word of mouth where it's like Matty is an asshole. And then they're like,
the ego part is going to tell you, like, you can't do that in front of an audience. Like, you're going to look foolish. That's all ego sitting in the back of your mind, just being like, man, don't look silly. Don't pick that guy. You know what I mean? It was 100% the right thing to do. And that's the thing. I mean, let's talk about building client for a minute. Because, I mean, we were talking a little bit about shop and brand and how to build stuff. But, I mean, let's get back to, like, really basic about how to get behind a chair and build a clientele.
Definitely. Let's go there.
It's an interesting thing because, like, for all of the people that don't know, like, I spent a lot of time, like about 20 years behind a chair, all right, like full time. While I was kind of starting out some of these things. When I opened my shop, I was full time behind a chair. On the weekends, I was going teaching. We had a couple shops before I started having to take a step back from a chair full time. And then I eventually dwindled down to where I was last year on 150 flights, and I wasn't behind the chair at all. So that's an interesting thing because the industry likes to shit on you a bit if you're not behind the chair. They're like, oh, that's real well and good, but you don't know what it's like for me, man. I've been doing this 2 years straight, homie. Like, you don't know what it's like being behind the chair for 2 years. I'm like, I was behind your chair for 20 before I pulled this shit off. But here's the thing. COVID happened, travel stops, shops shut down, brand dipped 80%. That's a big hit to take. When you lose 4 shops, all the sales stop, everything, like a couple of my staff just couldn't make it happen, just decided that they were going to move away. And so I lost some of my staff, and I'm going to move to a city that I didn't grow up in, that I didn't have a clientele existing in. And I've started again from scratch.
Wow.
At 25 years in, I don't have a reliable existing clientele. I've started again from scratch in a new town, behind a chair in my own shop. And you know what? I am loving it.
Feels good, don't it?
All the stuff that I've been talking about on stage, the things I've been teaching in my classes and stuff like that, this is my chance for me to prove to myself that the concept works and that it's not a bunch of bullshit. I'm putting these things to work, and I'm modeling them for my staff, and I'm showing people how to build a clientele. I'm busy instantly. Like I'm building, I'm making relationships. But more importantly, I'm focusing most of my time on trying to create an experience for those people, trying to create an environment where somebody actually cares about them in a very like healthy, friendly, masculine way. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, where they're listened to, they're heard, they're joked with, they're welcomed into the community, they're welcomed into the culture. You know what I mean? The haircut is about recommending pretty basic stuff. It really is just about explaining to them why I'm recommending those things. It's about working with them on how to style their hair at home. It's about 5 or 6 things that I notoriously do every single client, and it's building a rock solid clientele. And you know what the funny thing is that since I got back, I have not, this is something I used to argue with people a lot about. I don't post my clients on Instagram, not ever.
I noticed that.
Everybody on my Instagram are friends of mine or they're models, which means they got a free haircut in exchange for some photos that I got to shoot. And sometimes I get a haircut in photos. Like I keep telling my friends, like, come on down, your Tinder game will go through the roof. And it does.
That's swipe right, baby.
True, it does. But the thing is, it's like, and really very fortunately too, like my girlfriend is a photographer. And she's like insane. She's so good. Like,
so you got a cheat code.
Dude, she's unbelievable at what she does. But she also works with like a lot of like actors and stuff like that. So when she finds somebody cool that she's like, I bet you this person would like to do a photo shoot and maybe you could do some hair stuff with them. I'll just like reach out and or she'll reach out and I'll meet them, and then I'll do that on the side. Those aren't clients. Those are guys that I'm like working with to shoot for my Instagram.
That explains why all your guys are always so damn handsome.
Yeah.
That explains it right there.
No, man, that's 100% the secret to my success. My friends are just good looking. Like,
jeez,
half those dudes, I could put a burlap sack on their head and beat them with a stick, and they're still going to be like, wow, that looks amazing.
I'm going to start looking around at my circle of friends and guys. What? So if you're listening, you better tighten up.
The important part though is that I don't post my clients. I don't sit in my chair and post pictures of haircuts from behind my chair, hoping that that's going to fill my chair up. Mm-hmm. It doesn't.
That's a mistake.
You know, like I've never seen somebody build a clientele by just sitting in an empty barbershop, posting pictures of haircuts, waiting for people to come in the door. Because if you don't own that barbershop, that's not even really your client. I mean, if you're not out there hustling, like I just had this one new guy come in, and I got to tell you, like, his name's Bill. He's an amazing guy. And truth be told, like I have an incredible relationship with all of my team. Like I miss those guys. They're friends of mine. I mean, I'm still the leader, but I really respect and love the people I work for. They all do exceptional work. Bill hustles. Bill's a new guy. He came into me from another shop. We've been talking about him coming for a long time. And he showed up, and he just likes to be busy. And you know what happens when Bill's not busy? Bill gets on his phone. He doesn't get it on his Instagram.
He gets on Tinder?
No, he texts people. He texts people. He reaches out. He like hustles a clientele into his chair. He's like, hey man, you should come by and get a haircut. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. He just shows up in people's little, you know, like reminder them, you know, kind of thing. He's an amazing guy, and he hustles hard for it, you know. He's always a guy with cards. He's always a guy saying, hey, you should come see me. Hey man, I'd love to cut your hair. My favorite thing is when I'm out and I see my kids like doing this stuff. We'll go out for maybe a drink or something after work, and I'll just watch them work the room. You know, they'll be sitting there and be like, hey man, I really like your hair. You ever want to do something different? Come check us out. And this is it. It's like, never lead with like, oh man, your hair's ratchet. Who the fuck did that? And it's like, okay, that makes you look bad. All right. When you look at somebody and hey man, you got great hair. You ever want to do something different to it? Come check us out. Man, that works every time. It's unbelievable. So handing out, like making relationships, like glad handing people, welcoming them into the culture before they even show up.
Matty just dropped the nugget. If you ever want to do something different with your hair, come check us out. And if you notice, he didn't say come check me out. He always, their team is built around team. So it's come check us out, which is the client has the right to choose whoever he wants to. But since you were the one that initiated the conversation, he's coming back looking for your face.
Every time. And the thing is, people always come to me like, hey man, who cuts your hair? I'm like, all of them. Yeah. All of them. As an owner, I sit in every single chair. Like, I think there's only 2 people who work for our company that haven't cut my hair because I haven't been able to get over to the barbershop on the island and get it yet, but they will.
I got to cut your hair one day.
If you listen to this, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, I got to cut your hair one day.
I would love that. Only if I was going to say only if I can cut yours, but I'd be like, I feel like I get beat up for that. I'm going to try.
No, bro. I'm an easy client.
I know you got such good hair though, man. Like you got such beautiful texture in the top of it. I love to be like, you sponge that thing? Is that sponge?
Nah, these are actually twists. These are, yeah, I got a little.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that like racket thing?
Yeah, I'm not me personally, I'm not a fan. I like the sponge, even though they're like the sponge is not sanitary. Yeah, but it ain't gonna pass COVID. But you know what I mean? I'm gonna take it.
Okay. What do you think about things now? Like, I mean, post-COVID, reopen. I mean, California freaked out, shut down. So, I mean, that's kind of weird. But what do you think about the whole positive things that have come out of COVID for barbering, even though everything seems so negative right now?
I think this is probably the best time to be in our industry, honestly. The whole industry had to pivot. I think professionalism is going to have to go back up. Take-home selling product is going to go back up because now you can't do a lot of the same services that we used to. So now how do we make that increase in our money go back up? And it's selling product, something that we haven't focused on in the barbering side of this industry for a long time. So for me, any student listening right now or any stylist or barber that's like nervous, I'm going to tell you right now, you guys are either coming into the industry at the best time when it seems like it's the worst, or you're actually going to be great once you get a pace. And I'm not going to say a rhythm, I'm going to say a pace. Once you discover your pace inside of this climate, this is going to be the best part of what needs to happen in our industry.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of really positive changes, and I think a lot of really bad habits that are being flung to the side right now, or people that are in it for the wrong reason that don't have the commitment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that people that love it are still going to love it, and they're maybe even going to love it more, because now there has been a refocusing from sanitization to sterilization that I think is overdue.
Yeah.
I think maybe not to the excessive degree right now where everybody's wearing like full face shields and
hazmat suits.
Outside, but I think a lot of the good habits that barbers are being forced to get back into now benefit us long term. I think they're a good thing. I think you nailed it with product, man. I think, truth be told, like that's another tip on building a clientele. If you really want to know the truth, is that if a person buys a product for you, they're likely to come back and sit in your chair, not just that shop, your chair. Statistically, that's proven.
Yeah, because you recommended it to them. You're making them feel good again. You're completing the process. Hakuna Matata.
Totally, but you've given them something to help them be successful with the look that you created, help them be successful at home, feel better on the daily.
Yep.
Right. So it's not just being their barber when they're sitting in your chair. It's like being their barber when they're out the door. Here, if you guys want like a really, really big thing about selling product without being a salesperson, here's the thing. Every time somebody tries to sell me something, I get like PTSD back from when like Future Shop was a thing, and you would walk in the door and instantly there'd be some guy you don't recognize trying to be a little too friendly. You'd be like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And you're like, "I'm good, man. Thanks very much. Bye-bye." Here's the thing. Everyone hates to be sold shit. And there's a zone where selling shit happens, where no matter what you say, if they're standing in that zone or you're in this zone, everything that comes out of your mouth is a sales pitch. And that zone is when you're standing right in front of the desk at the end of a haircut, trying to sell somebody products that is standing in front of the desk waiting to pay for a haircut. And if that's the first time you've mentioned anything about it or had any kind of conversation about it, trying to sell them those products in that zone is like basically trying to sell them a big screen TV at Future Shop. You know what I mean?
I like how you put that.
Thanks very much. And that is not the vibe that I want to leave my client with when they're walking out the door going like, "Oh, that was really fun," until he tried to fucking sell me something.
Yeah, and at that point, they're ready to go. Once they get to the cash register, they're ready to go.
That is the dumbest place to try and sell somebody something. Never do that. Here's the thing. It's not selling people stuff if you're educating them while they're in your chair. That whole conversation happens while they're in that chair. And after, I feel like I'll be like, "Hey man, so you got this type of hair, so I'm going to pick this stuff because it's going to do X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? You got fine hair, so I'm going to use this stuff to beef it up a little bit. It's going to make it feel a lot thicker. Trust me." Done. It's not like, well, this has beta alpha hydroxy, it's wheat extracts and all the like. That's cool for some clients, but 90% of people don't actually care about the ingredients. They care about the fragrance. They care about the action. They care about what it does. If it smells good, you're halfway home. If it does something cool, even better. But I just tell them what I'm doing. I'm like, here's what I'm going to do. Just going to spray this in here. Going to give you twice as thick hair or whatever it is. Or this is just going to give you cooler separation. Or this is just going to feel a little more soft and neutral. Whatever it is. I always use words that are like feeling words. You know what I mean? They're not specific things. They're just like, this is going to make your hair feel a little bit cooler. It's going to feel a little less puffy. It's going to give it a little more texture, a little more movement. You can still get your hands through it. Highlight a couple features, whatever. Act like they're throwaway things. Done. Show them what it does. Don't sell them what it does. Show them what it does. When I put something in spray in somebody's hair, be like, "Hey, it's gonna make your hair feel thicker." I know that if a guy has thin hair and I just told him his hair is gonna feel thicker, as soon as I'm done with the blow dry, I'll be like, "Yeah, check that out." And then they're like, "Oh shit," you know what I mean? And then you're like, "Yeah, see?" And then boom, on to the next thing. And it's just this quick interactive thing. And it's not like, "Hey man, you need to do this." Because I'm not saying you need to buy this. I'm just saying, "Hey, I got this shit and here's what it does. Let me show you." So then when I walk them to the desk, I'm just like, "Hey man, the stuff I talked to you about is right here, right here. It was really nice talking to you. It's available if you want it. You have an awesome day. I hope to see you again next time." And that's essentially it. And then I walk away. Please do not underestimate the importance of saying goodbye and then walking the fuck away. Because if you just stand there and like, "Hey man, the stuff I got for you is right there." like nobody wants that. They didn't feel weird about not. They're like, "Here you go." You know what I mean? Like, I the reason I need to walk away, the reason you need to walk away is because as soon as that person picks that stuff up and purchases it, it became their decision, influence free. They walk out the door feeling good about it. And that's the feeling they associate with my shop. They feel good about, I got a good haircut. I bought some nice products. I look great. I'm walking out the door. Like, I feel like $1 million. And that's like this positive vibe the whole way through. You know what I mean? And that's how you end strong.
Now, I got a question for you. Because since you said the walk-off is important, right?
Important.
Now, watch how I paint this picture for you. A home run just looks like a home run. If the guy hits it, throws it back, takes off running, right? Mm-hmm. But a home run really looks real sweet. When he hits it, he watches it for a second. He takes about 4 steps, just nice and slow, like, yeah, I did that. And then he starts to jog off. That's what you just described to me. Hit the ball, the haircut, you knocked it out of the park.
Yep.
But sit back and enjoy it for a little bit and let the guy know, like, yo, you handsome, bro. And then trot back.
Totally.
Matty.
Every time. And then it's like just casual walk away, like, yep.
Yeah, I did that. And
so
then
true.
You just sold him the confidence. You sold him the product. You sold him the next week or next 2-week appointment. You sold everything with the look and the walk off.
And the thing is, it's like, it's less manipulative. It's natural. It is not a thing where it's any kind of effort on my part. It's just me being my friendly self and being thorough. That's it. It's not like I have to put in any more effort for that. But I got to tell you, like, for my own bottom line, like, because a lot of people out there right now are probably shocked to know that, like, I get by on the wages of a part-time barber right now. I don't live lavishly. I don't have a big crazy lifestyle and all that kind of stuff. I get by on the wages of a part-time barber right now. And I make money off of selling products. And guess what? They're not all my products. That's another thing I love about our shops. Like, I don't only sell my products. I love my products. I think they're great. They're not all things to all people. That's ridiculous.
Right.
You know, everybody going to have something a little different. Like, I love this one product. 90% of my clients love it. I've got three clients that are just like, I can't stand the smell of that one. I'm like, okay, cool. We got other shit. You know what I mean? Like, I've got go-tos, you know what I mean? So it's like, I like that. I like that part of it, because the truth is that I'm not here for me. I'm here for them. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not behind a chair to pump my own tires. I'm behind a chair to pump theirs, to like make them feel good. And if it means that somebody else's product or even some other barber in my shop or whatever, like, the important part is how they leave feeling, because that's what they're paying for, how they feel when they walk out the door.
Yeah, we're in a service industry. We just don't wait tables or serve food or sell drinks. But we definitely are in the service industry. And Matty, man, we could continue the conversation all day long. We've been going for about 1 hour and 30 minutes strong, brother. And I just want to make sure that I thank you. I thank you for this conversation. And I'm sure the listeners is going to thank you for this conversation, because you gave a lot of insight from marketing, branding, building the brand, how to keep your money in-house, how to even just identify what your brand's gonna be, to selling product, to growing as a barber, and being humble. Being humble more than anything is this whole conversation came out to me. And that's what I love about you, brother, is that you're always gonna sit back, you're gonna be humble, but you're gonna continue to push the issue of what Matty likes, and that's education and good product and good conversation.
Man, it's friendship is all it is. It's all relationships, all of it. It's relationships with your client. It's relationship with your customer. It's relationship with your fellow barbers, educators, all of it. It all boils down to relationships, man. Like, those are the most important things in all of this. So make sure you keep those sacred. And I appreciate your friendship, honestly. Like, you are an awesome, awesome friend to me. You always have been. And I can't wait till we get to hang out and do this in person, man.
Man, we're going to definitely get it done in person at a show. Maybe when shows happen, if they happen again, whatever, we bring the podcast to a show and just do this in front of people and open it up for everybody else.
Dude,
to access the questions. We could be Robin Big all over again, bro.
Shit, yeah. Okay, but which one's which?
I think you should be Big. So
Yeah, we'll do this. We'll do this.
yeah,
for
let's
sure.
let's get it. And so, Matty, can you leave the people with something, just whatever's on your heart, on your mind, just something for them to have to walk away from tonight's podcast or today's podcast, whenever they listen to it, to say, wow, that was a good one.
Oh man, I mean, it's kind of tough because those I feel like I at any given time have one thing that just weighs on me, and it always kind of rotates around. I think the big thing is no matter what you're doing in this industry, whether it's big or small, it's really important to do it with integrity. You know, the way you handle the small things is the way that you handle the big things. Or as my best friend says, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so if you think that you can kind of skip over things, or you think that you can kind of push some things to the side and still ultimately succeed, take every step as though it's the most important step, you know, and do it with integrity. And I know that if you do that, great things will happen, but more importantly, great people will gather around you.
Wow. Well, y'all heard it first. Integrity, and get you a pack of people that's going to hang out with you and always push you, give you the praises you need to keep going. So, Matty, on that, brother, I appreciate you. I respect the hell out of you for what you do for our industry, and I know you're going to continue to do it. So, you already know what it is. Apex Podcast. Please subscribe to the Apex Podcast. Make sure you check out Matty's podcast. I don't want to mess the name up. Foxtail Wolfgang. What is it?
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. I fucked it up now. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot with Matty Conrad. It is available on all streaming channels. It is on Spotify. It's on everything else. John Mosley was, in fact, one of my, when I only do 10 episodes a season. So John is one of the illustrious guests that we had this year, but we also have a lot of other pretty remarkable people from across the hair spectrum. So
and
check it out.
I was thankful for that. And so, Matty, with that, I'm going to give you the applause. And you guys got to know it. We don't start, like Matty said, we start how we finish, and we take the same steps. So you already know what this one is and what it's about. So thank you guys for listening, and we're going to sign you out.